I am Anjali Bamzai. I am serving as Embassy Science Fellow in Climate Change Information Center and Renewable Energy for 2 months. My hosts are Dr. Ala and his group, and I've spent a week. I really enjoying my stay here, and I'm hoping to learn Arabic and also hoping to help in the preparation for COP27 and also the R&D for this center. So today, as the second talk of our summer seminar series that US Embassy Cairo and Climate Change Information Center are hosting, we have actually my colleague from National Science Foundation, Dr. Maria Uhle. She is a program director for our Geosciences International. So she manages the international projects that we fund. So in geosciences, we have a lot of programs, and some of them are on climate, some are on other topics, physical oceanography, earth sciences, all other topics. And for the international, Dr. Maria Uhle is the program director. She coordinates with a lot of countries. So I requested her to speak and tell us more about her projects and also what might be the funding opportunities for this center, also other organizations, ministries in Egypt. So Egypt, we want Egypt to be a full partner in the international cooperation. About Maria, she has worked in many places. She has worked in National Institutes of Standards and Technology, NIST, which is under the Department of Commerce. And before that, she was also program officer in the National Academy of Sciences, US National Academy of Sciences, in the board for atmospheric sciences and climate, and also Polar Research Board. So I meet Maria before the COVID. We used to meet a lot. Now we meet on Zoom, and today we are Zooming from Egypt. So I will ask Dr. Ala Khalil to say a few welcome remarks, and then Maria, you will share your screen and do your presentation. Over to you, Dr. Ala.
Thank you a lot, Dr. Anjali. I am Ala Khalil, supervisor of Early Warning Unit in Climate Change Information Center. And on behalf of Dr. Muhammad Fahim, the head of the Climate Change Information Center, I'd like to say welcome for all of you. And we hope to learn a lot of things from Dr. Maria and increase our knowledge about climate change issue. Thank you a lot for you, and we hope to enjoy. Thank you.
Wonderful. So I think that's over to me then.
Over to you then. You can share the screen, etc. Yeah.
All right. And is that coming through?
Yes, it is.
Great. Wonderful. So as Anjali said, I'm Maria Uhle. I'm a program director for international activities in the Geosciences Directorate, I think, but today probably the more important role that I play in this is to represent a large international organization called the Belmont Forum. And today I'd like to talk to you about some of the opportunities that we have coming up, but also a little bit of the history of some of the projects that we've funded in the past to give you an idea of kind of the breadth and depth of the research that we tend to fund. So the Belmont Forum is, and I'm just getting this thing to move forward. Hang on a second. There we go. The Belmont Forum is a organization that came together in 2009. And the reason why it's called the Belmont Forum is because several of the organizations like the National Science Foundation in Australia, the UK, Canada, France, Germany, and Japan came together at Belmont House in Maryland to talk about how do we lower barriers to international collaboration, how do we cooperate better to meet the challenges of global environmental change, collectively and to focus on things that are issues that require national, international collaboration, and more importantly, multilateral. So not just a bilateral between one or two countries, but between multiple countries and regional approaches. And so that group came together in Belmont House, and they dubbed the group the Belmont Forum. So that is pretty straightforward origin of our name. So in 2009, there were about 6 or 7 organizations that came together. By 2000, what are we in, 22? We're now up to 31 members representing over 55 countries. And the nice thing about the Belmont Forum is that you don't have to be a member of the Belmont Forum to work with us. So we have partnered to date with over 150 resource organizations throughout the globe. We have partners that bring funding to the table, but we also have partners who bring in-kind contributions, which we consider things like staff time. So if you have an organization, if you are an organization that has scientists that are working on critical questions in global environmental change and you wish to be part of an international consortium, you are more than welcome to join us and to support your researchers in a multilateral, multinational research collaboration. So there's lots of different ways to engage. I'm going to go through a couple of those in a minute, but the idea here is that you know, we really recognize the need for a lot of different actors to come together to address a lot of the challenges that we're facing now globally. So the next, whoop, my little cursor just went off my button here. Sorry about that. There we go. So we are guided by what we call the Belmont Challenge, and that is to understand, mitigate, and adapt to global environmental change. So you can see that that's a pretty broad mandate, but our mission really is that we want to accelerate the delivery of this environmental research that is needed to remove the critical barriers to sustainability. And we're trying to do that by aligning and mobilizing international resources. So we get together around what we call collaborative research actions. So you can kind of think of these as specific themes, calls for proposals around specific themes. And we have come down on the idea that we really support what we call transdisciplinary research approaches. So we are looking at addressing societally relevant challenges through transdisciplinary research. And for us, that means that we are going to, all of our international consortia consist of natural scientists, social scientists, and stakeholders all coming together in what we call a co-design of the research project. So on the bottom of the slide here, you can see we have a co-design of the pre-awards. We want all of the research and stakeholders to come together to identify what are the critical issues, what is the project going to try and tackle, and then work together to implement this research. And then again, to make sure that the findings are relevant for research and practice. And then hopefully to contribute to the mitigation and adaptation potential moving forward. So the way that we work is that we have a single proposal. It goes through one peer review process, and each funding organization has what we call an annex that outlines who is eligible to be supported by that organization. So which researchers or stakeholders are eligible to receive the support, and that could be in kind or monetary. If there are any funding restrictions and potential areas of interest within the scope of the call. And again, we are making sure that this is a multilateral. So you have to have team members from at least 3 different countries, and we need to have those groups request funding from at least 3 different agencies. Each successful proposal consortium members are directly supported through their national program or their organization. So that way we get away from having funding streams cross any international borders. And we also have the stipulation that, you know, there are researchers from countries that may not be participating within the call itself, and that's fine. They are able to provide, if they are able to provide their own funding or provide in-kind contribution, they are more than welcome to be part of the consortium. So those are sort of the options for engagement. What we have decided to sort of not really budge on is that our projects must be transdisciplinary and must have robust stakeholder engagement. So the stakeholders were really looking to make sure that they are an integral part of the development and implementation of the research. And one of the ideas here is that we are expecting the projects to have impact on whatever decision making is relevant to that project. So we have a pretty robust website, and I just put it up here to show you. You can find all sorts of funding opportunities there. It's pretty simple, belmontforum.org. We have lots and lots of, all of our projects that we have are listed here, past ones, present ones, future opportunities for research calls this is where these are advertised. So you can find funding opportunities under opportunities or CRAs. And just to give you an idea of what types of programs and projects we've been funding, since 2012, we've had 19 or 20, I'd have to add here very quickly in my head, so that's not going to work, to opportunities to address lots of different aspects of global and environmental change. We started out with freshwater security, coastal vulnerability. We did some food security and land use. We've done biodiversity a couple of times. We've had Arctic observing and research for sustainability, 1 or 2 calls on that. We've looked at climate predictability and interregional linkages. We've done a food, water, energy nexus, transformations to sustainability. We also are very interested in making sure that the data that we have generated through the projects is accessible for not only decision making, but for future research as well. So we've undertaken a couple of different policy development on our data management and e-infrastructure approaches. And then we've had a few pilot projects that we've funded around how to make sure that we're looking to increase the awareness, but also the accessibility of this transdisciplinary data use in environmental change. We've also looked at things like disaster risk reduction and resilience, climate, environment, and health, towards sustainability of soils and groundwater. And we're looking at pathways to sustainability. So that is actually a sort of a systems approach to different, meeting different challenges to reach the sustainable development goals. And then the ones that we just launched this year was integrated approaches to human migration and mobility. So this is a new focus for us. And I'll go through a little bit about how we're working. So this map here shows a group of the participant projects and project locations. So you can see that we cover a bit of the globe. I would say we're still not all that great in Middle East, North Africa. So this is a great opportunity for Egypt to play a critical role in being part of the Belmont family, if you will. And a lot of the projects that we have here also involve local stakeholders. So we are always making sure that this type of research isn't a parachute in, grab data, and then leave. So we are really dedicated to making sure that the research that happens in a place is not only informative for that place, but also for the stakeholders who are there and need to make decisions, and that they have a very strong voice in what types of research problems are being addressed. And so to give you a couple of different examples of some research that we've done in the past, we've looked at in coastal vulnerability. I focused on Africa in general. In coastal vulnerability, we've looked at things like what we call artistic, which is really to understand how natural science can be used in order to better adapt in the future to current changes, and actually how memories of the past influence how memories of the past adaptations frame what future courses they're going to be taken. So this particular project does a lot with the stakeholder environment, understands culture, works with lots of different community organizations to not only understand the way that communities are tied to the land, but how their culture influences the decisions that they make around sustainability and policy development. So that one's been one of our very first ones that we did. FICESA, again, is this one here, and that is focused on food security and land use changes. And that particular project looked at the telecoupling between socioeconomic and environmental interactions among a couple of human and natural systems over great distances. So this was a way to try to see what kind of food security impacts of industrial crop expansion in sub-Saharan Africa was undertaken. Really, they were looking at focusing on major food commodities that were central to food security. So rice, corn, wheat, soybeans, potato, biofuel crops, basically sugarcane and corn, and livestock. And they looked at the processes at different scales, and from the international trade in major food commodities to in-depth studies at regional and local scales. So they were really trying to understand the impacts of all of these types of expansion on sort of the whole food security and land use system. One of the other projects was the impacts of human drivers, looking at fire, agriculture, and grazing on biodiversity in savannas, and that's the IHDBS, and that was part of our scenarios of biodiversity and ecosystem services. And really what they were looking there to understand was the fact that since savannas are an important ecosystem worldwide, in fact, they're about 20% of the land surfaces and are currently under threat and pose many difficulties in modeling. And so a lot of the land management approaches are to look at fire and grazing as two of the drivers for that. And sometimes the those particular approaches may be a bit more important than climate change in terms of how the diversity and the ecosystem services of these resources have been utilized. So what they looked to do was to have lots of different case studies across many regions of the world to understand how climate was impacting the savanna health, but also the land management practices as well. And they created what we call a scorecard, and what they were able to kind of address sort of the impacts of climate and human intervention on these, and how that actually plays on the biodiversity. The other one that we're looking at is the freshwater security from our very first one. That's called SAHUS, and that was about South Africa's hydro economy and water security. And there were a lot of knowledge gaps in water supply, demand, and sharing across this. And that particular project looked at effective management of water security, and they were also
طور نفسك يابا استنى يا ابني ساعة.
And so that particular one was to look at, hydrometeorological variability across the region was fairly large, and there were prolonged floods and droughts, and they were trying to understand what is the best approach regionally and locally to deal with the issue of freshwater security there. The other one that we did in our Mountains as Sentinels of Change was to look at the Nile Nexus. So this was a project that was to identify food, energy, water pressures in the tropical mountain systems in Ethiopia along the Nile. And then this was to understand sort of from a stakeholder perspective what options for adaptation and were available to make sure that the food, water, energy future in that particular area of the world was able to sort of deal with changing conditions. And so that's just a quick snapshot of the types of projects that we have been engaging in. I want to then turn to a little bit more on the current calls that we have. They are, the first one I want to talk about is the human migration and mobility in an era of rapid global change. And this is really to understand how migration and mobility is being driven through different issues like environmental and climate change. They're to look at demographic changes, consumption patterns, energy use, and land use. So there are three main themes within that particular call. And we're looking to understand and support innovative efforts for integrating and supplementing data and models, basically, to better understand the complex relationships between migration, mobility, and its relationship to global change. The second area focuses on studying and creating integrative governance frameworks around migration and mobility. And then the last one focuses on human-centric approaches to studying integrating data and frameworks on vulnerable communities. So this is actually a truly inter and transdisciplinary opportunity here to understand how present and potentially future changes in the environment are going to drive relocation of people moving forward. The other one that we've been looked at and is in the middle of, just had their first panel of expert meeting, I should say, is the systems of sustainable consumption and production. And this is really to promote transdisciplinary research to help the transition to more green economies and sustainable consumption and production. And this includes things like sustainable and resilient industries, looking at social inequality and environmental justice, and then also integrating new technologies, policies, and governance approaches. So again, this is a coupling of the natural and social sciences, again, with stakeholders for the different parts of the economy. Okay, so those are the two that we have on its way moving forward. The Belmont Forum, when we decide to embark on a new collaborative research action, we go through this process of what we call scoping. And so we spend about 9 to 12 months talking with the international research community and then also potential stakeholders, funders, to understand and answer the question really about if the Belmont Forum came together to put resources behind a specific problem in an area or a topic, you know, what are the priority things that we should be focusing on? And so we do spend quite a few hours talking with the community to understand that. So the climate, environment, and health #2. So we have 7 projects right now on climate, environment, and health, and those are on the website for you to look at. But the second one, we anticipate to be opening up and launching in early 2023, so January, February kind of idea. So we've been speaking with lots of folks and funders over the last year or so, and some potential areas of interest. All of these workshops that we have are public, and the reports are available as well. So this information has sort of been collated from all of the different scoping sessions that we've had. So potential areas of interest moving forward for this are things like forecasting and surveillance, food insecurity and malnutrition. And this all, again, is going to be within the realm of climate, environment, and health. So we would expect that the research teams would have climate scientists, environmental scientists, health practitioners, health scientists, epidemiologists, whatever, that needs to be part of that consortium to provide, you know, a tangible potential solution moving forward. So the climate, we also are looking at potentially looking at climate sensitive diseases, environmental determinants of disease, things like air quality, urban planning, land use, and the impacts on those decisions and how they impact on health. So again, that one is going to be coming up pretty soon. We have also, in the last couple of years, undertaken a new forum for this type of research so the transdisciplinary research to have its own kind of home, if you will, around in a Congress. So we're calling this the Sustainability Research and Innovation Congress. And the Belmont Forum is a partner with Future Earth to bring this to everyone every year. This past year, it was held in Pretoria, South Africa, online and on site. So we will always be dedicated, I think, to a hybrid approach moving forward. The first one was held in Brisbane, Australia, online and there. Next year, it'll be in Panama City, Panama. And we expect that the SRI series will continue. A lot of it it's not your typical scientific conference. We have a lot of training. There's a lot of folks who are policymakers who come. We try to engage in interactive dialogues to use the research that folks have been put forward, and trying to help the the community come together, learn how to do transdisciplinary research, but also to inspire action and really, hopefully, promote a sustainability transformation. So that's kind of been our outreach. In addition, I showed you the website earlier, and this is really easy to get in touch with us. You can connect. We have a mailing list, so you can, any new opportunities that come up, you are the first to know about it. So you can go ahead and follow this link here and register. And with that, I want to just say thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to provide you with a bit of an overview of the Belmont Forum and hopefully entice your interest. So I'll end it there, and back to Anjali.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maria. This was really interesting, and we can move now to the questions. If anyone has a question, can you please unmute himself and talk? Until we find any more questions, I was really interested in this forum. How can Egypt be part of the Balkan?
Okay, thanks, Maria, for your presentation. I am Ala Khalil. My question about, from your opinion, why is the Egypt is not in the map of Belmont Forum?
Well, we have, so that goes to your question and the one we just had. So it is just a matter of having folks engage with it. There's no barrier to being part of the Belmont Forum. You know, I think it's been our goal to socialize the opportunities we have here, and Egypt itself, the research community is more than welcome to be part of this. I think in a former life at the National Institute for Standards and Technology, I was part of the US-Egypt Joint Board for research. I think that's a great opportunity. That was a nice bilateral. And, you know, I was able to see a lot of the really innovative research that has been happening in Egypt. And it would be great to have those researchers within the region come together and be part of what we're doing. So the way to go about doing that is just to contact us and say, you know, we're interested. And I know, like, if you're concerned about, you know, maybe not being a funding agency, that's okay. If you have researchers that are already working on something and you wish them to be part of an international consortium, we can do that. In fact, our Australian colleagues do that quite a bit. You may be familiar with the CSIRO, which is sort of a big national type laboratory in Australia, and they routinely have their research scientists be part of our consortium. So that's an easy way to go ahead and do that. And in addition, we also have funding opportunities sometimes that will support researchers in various countries throughout different regions, and you would potentially be eligible to apply for those. So like the SIDA, which is the Swedish Development Aid Agency, sometimes will put funding on the table to support different countries in different regions. So depending on their program engagement, those opportunities are there sometimes too. So, you know, it really does warrant, I think, an investigation by Egypt to come in and have a look at what we're doing and to see what potential opportunities are there for your scientists and your stakeholders to be part of this multinational group.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, my name is Walid Dasuki. I'm working in Central Lab for Agriculture Climate. That's belonging to Agriculture Research Center. I would like to asking about the research who's needing some funding to be providing MACU or some innovation maybe still needed some funded research. How you could helping in this area?
So yeah, so a lot of the programs that we have involve opportunities for the basic research to be still developed. And what we're looking at is the opportunity to take that research and bring it sort of to practice. So we do still support quite a bit of the basic or fundamental research. But a lot of the projects will then take that and actually bring it a little bit closer to decision making and things like that. And so there are opportunities for that. We have one of the things that you're talking about, pathways to sustainability, is excuse me, going to be another potential collaborative research action coming up. And you can, on the website right now, there's results from the first networking call for that. And that really is about systems approaches to sustainability. So I think what you're describing there would be a good fit for the pathways, the next call for the pathways to sustainability. It's about systems approaches, trade-offs and balances around sustainable development goals, things like life on land, water security, inequality, things like that. So I think the research that you're talking about would fit very well within that framework.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maria. Actually, I have a question regarding COP27. Do you have any comments for that?
Sure. So actually at COP26, the Belmont Forum was part of a side event that the UK under their tent. And so we tried to highlight sort of what do I want to call it? The importance of these approaches, this type of research approach, so the transdisciplinary approach, but also the fact that you need a lot more than just one country working on something. So this multinational, regional, global approach to research was highlighted. And so, I think the more times people see that, the better off we're going to be in terms of having different organizations come together. I can tell you that the UN part, we've worked with the UNFCCC quite a bit. We've been part of the high-level political forum as a showcase event for multilateral research. We've also been kind of held up as a great example of how to support inter and transdisciplinary research through multiple countries at once. So that's kind of what we've been able to do in terms of COP27. I'm not 100% sure who's going to pick us up this time, but I'm sure someone will.
Inshallah, this will happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to thank you so much. Yes, go ahead.
I had a follow-on comment to Ala's, and that is that, Maria, if you were to be aware of anybody who is coming to Egypt for COP27, whose work relates to agrometeorology, agricultural climate connections, it is good for our Egyptian colleagues to know beforehand, so that when they are here, maybe they can have discussions and future collaborative research actions, etc. Because sometimes it's also communication that we miss the opportunity to interact.
Well, I mean, I would really encourage folks to get in touch with us. We have a wonderful new executive director. Her name is Nicole Arbor, and actually I will put her name in the chat. And she is very interested in helping new members or new what do we want to collaborators come on and join in our activities. And she's willing to do, and I'm also as well willing to do kind of a one-on-one meet and greet and sort of understand the upcoming opportunities for engaging with the Belmont Forum, and what potentially outlining a plan for the group to explore different ways to work with us. So I guess what I'm trying to say is we've had lots and lots of different partners and we've never said no. So if you can think about it and be creative, we can most likely work with you. So I'm just going to put Nicole's email, and I can't speak and type at the same time. So org, not there you go. So it should be nicole.arbor@belmontforum.org. And so I would encourage you guys to keep looking at the website as well, and we're happy to get in touch with you to discuss options.
Thanks again, Dr. Maria. Actually, I have shared all the links that you were sharing during your presentation, so they should, they should have all the links for Belmont Forum. We still have 5 more minutes if anyone has any question to ask. Otherwise, we can wrap up. No questions? Okay, then I will have to thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to have you with us today and to hear all about the Belmont Forum. Thank you. And thanks first to Dr. Angeli for arranging for this session. And thanks for the CCIC for hosting us for this month. Thanks again, and thank you all, and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye.